Well, join me right now with Arizona Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari. She is on the Oversight, Education, and Natural Resources Committees. Welcome back to the broadcast. I know that you have lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, also Nancy Mace. They are canceling appearances. They are beefing up security after this killing. Do you share their fears and concerns?
I absolutely share their fears and concerns. I think all of us here in Congress and elected officials across the country are terrified about the rising tide of political violence in this country. Whether you talk about January 6th, talk about the assassination of the lawmakers in Minnesota, to the horrific killing of Charlie Kirk. This is a very, very scary time. And I think it is so vital that as leaders and anyone with a platform in this moment to be very, very mindful, to practice empathy, and to try to turn down the temperature, because this is unacceptable and we cannot keep moving in this direction.
Yeah. All right, let's move to what happened this week with the Oversight Committee having released that trove of records handed over by the Epstein estate, including that 238-page birthday book containing a lewd message allegedly sent from President Trump, as well as many other notes alluding to Epstein's relations with young women. How important, Congresswoman, is this book to the committee's investigation? What do you make of Trump's claim that his birthday note was a forgery and Republican resistance to investigate its authenticity?
Unfortunately, Donald Trump's remarks about this birthday book, along with everything else pertaining to Epstein, there has been a lot of flip-flopping and a lot of lying coming from the very top administration officials. Allegedly, this note never existed. Then the White House changed its tune to say that it's the signature that shows that the note is fake. I think this is absolutely worth investigating. I think that we are completely committed as oversight Democrats to make sure that we get the full files. Ultimately, that is what we need. And the subpoena is very clear that we need to get the full files. And what's important to remember is that Republicans and the DOJ continue to stall, and all they have sent is 33,000 pages, 97% of which were already in the public domain. So we are continuing to push for the full release of the unredacted files. We need to make sure that the discharge petition also reaches the number of signatures that it needs, so that every single person can go on the record to say, do they believe in accountability for perpetrators of horrific sex abuse against children, or do they want to protect the most powerful people in this country and billionaires and pedophiles who have perpetrated these crimes?
Beyond the birthday book, what new did you learn this week relative to all of this?
I think the birthday book was important in that, first of all, there are clearly materials at the Epstein estate that are important. It also showed a pattern from Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, of how comfortable the people in his inner circle were making jokes and talking about his relationship and affinity for children. Much of it was quite salacious, lewd. I mean, very, very disturbing stuff was in there. So I think that was what stood out to me the most, is that all of these people, in addition to Donald Trump, were willing to write to him, and write in this kind of way. All of it was sex related and related to how he sees women and girls.
You mentioned the discharge petition. It's bipartisan in its promotion. It's to force a floor vote on the release of the Epstein files. One more signature away now from the 218 needed after the newly sworn in Virginia Congressman James Walkinshaw signed that petition. How confident are you you'll get that one more vote?
Well, I'm extremely confident because in a matter of weeks, we will have a new member of the House from my state, future Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva. So I'm confident that with more Democrats, we will get the signatures. What is bothering me and what I still cannot fathom is how we don't have more Republican signatories, and especially Republican men. When we sat in the room with the closed door meeting we had with the survivors of Epstein, there were several Republican men in the room with us from the Oversight Committee who sat there, listened to the testimonies and the horrific stories that.
And what was their reaction? What was their reaction listening?
They showed empathy. I mean, they asked questions, they feigned care and concern, and promised accountability. Asked a lot of questions, and people like Brandon Gill, people like Congressman Perry, Mike Johnson was in the room the whole time himself, and said many things to these women about how he empathizes with them, and what they went through was horrific, and people need to be held accountable. So why don't they sign the petition and demand that the White House release these files? And again, everybody knows this, but Donald Trump could have these files released anytime, any moment if he wanted to. The White House is purposefully covering this up. And as always, Republicans in Congress are enabling this. And what I want to understand is why.
I was going to say, that is the question that, because of the delays, keeps getting asked. All right, Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again.